right, so I won't take up too much of your time because I know that you guys have a lot of questions, and there's probably a lot of topics and issues that we need to get to in a fairly short amount of time. So let me just go ahead and introduce everybody. We're actually part of the Cannabis Industry Association, and we put on the certifications, the courses, the classes, and our mission is really to educate and create a standard for CBD and cannabis education. So I encourage you guys to check us out, check out the website, some of the certification courses that we offer as well, and sign up for some of those. We'll be going every single CBD expo. We will have the courses available as well. So I will hand this over and just let you guys introduce yourself and what you guys do.
Can you guys hear me? So I'm Len May. I'm the co-founder and CEO of EndoCanna Health. We are a genetics company that looks at how to map your own personal genetics to the plant's genetics so you can have a more optimal experience. I've been in the industry 25 plus years. Used to be the president of the Cannabis Action Network, so fought for legalization and have a background in plant genomics as well. So that's kind of my overview.
Hi, I'm Katie Lundgren-Nauert, and I'm a co-founder of CBDIA. I also do a lot of the advertising and marketing here. I wear many hats. We are a CBD manufacturer, so there's a lot of different things that we do here.
Hi, my name is George Ho. I'm founder of Ingenuity Beverages. We're a co-packer out of Knoxville, Tennessee. We do a lot of dietary supplements. We're dual CGMP certified NSF and also SGS. Plus, I'm a founder of Myco Sativa. It's a premium cannabinoid nutritional line infused with medicinal mushrooms.
Good afternoon. My name is Thuy Vu. I am the Director of Operations, Regulatory Affairs, and Business Development for Hammer Enterprises. We are located in Evergreen, Colorado, and we are one of the largest vertically integrated hemp operations that has our ISO 9001 accreditation. We are USDA organic certified. We have our SGS non-GE certification, as well as many, many other certifications. Prior to joining the hemp industry, I worked in the marijuana industry for 2 years. And then prior to that, I was the lead foodborne illness outbreak and marijuana investigator for the city and county of Denver, the county that spearheaded regulation for cannabis statewide.
My name is Jim Taylor. I'm a board-certified anesthesiologist and pain physician. I got involved in CBD about 2 years ago when my state, North Carolina, legalized it, and we were able to start providing it to our patients. We've been using the last 2 years to understand what CBD does and doesn't do in the pain population, and I'm here to share that information.
Good morning. My name's Adam Abadili. I'm a board-certified general surgeon as well as a colorectal GI surgeon in upstate New York. I'm also the co-founder and chief medical officer of Reserve MD, which is a CBD-based but also a lifestyle brand of CBD and non-CBD-based products. And I've been incorporating cannabis into treatment of my patients now for about 7 years, starting out with cancers and inflammatory bowel disease illnesses, which were very common in my practice. And our practice now has expanded to treating thousands of patients with a variety of ailments. And I'm currently also the chief medical director for the Cannabinoid Industry Association here, associated with Mace Media and the CBD Expo to continue to providing educational content and courses for this endeavor as well as for the industry.
My name is Michael Brubeck. I'm the founder of Centuria. You might have known us from the company that sued the DEA when they tried to schedule CBD as a Schedule I substance. And then we actually got them to go on record to tell you that it's not. So we specialize in THC-free remediation and water-soluble compounding.
So as you can tell, we have quite the board here, and each of them specialize in something different, and so we're going to have a good time. The first question that I want to ask each of you guys is, what, in your opinion, is the most pressing issue or topic that the industry needs to pay more attention to?
So, in my opinion, one of the pet peeves I have is everywhere I speak, there's not enough research, is the feedback that I get. Well, they're right, there's not enough research, but there's plenty of research that's out there. Just go to PubMed and put in CBD, THC, endocannabinoid system. We do need more research, and we all need to be more united as an industry. Being an activist and seeing this common thread of cannabis wherever I travel in the world, it's a connector. And I think that that's something that sort of started to get lost when big business started coming into this industry. And that's fine, everybody should be able to make as much money as possible, but let's focus on our mission. The mission is to be able to help as many people as possible with this amazing substance that's been given to us, and let's study it more. And collaborating is extremely important. We are doing 2 really interesting observational studies under an IRB right now with 5 different physicians, PhDs, all kinds of people from all kinds of walks of life that are coming together to look at EEG phenotypes, genotypes on DNA, all these different things, and it's working for us to be able to get together and help as many people by getting that knowledge and publishing that and communicating that back to the industry. So that would be one of the things that I would focus on, is collaboration within the industry to be able to uplift everyone else.
That was really well said. I am going to go along with that as well. And from the marketing and advertising standpoint, there have been a lot of hardships there, and people are afraid to actually open the floodgates for this knowledge that we all share here. And I think having something that you know is very powerful, that can be medicine for people, that I have seen firsthand help many individuals, it's hard to see that this is not being allowed to be advertised and marketed in the ways that other types of companies can. So I think the education around this is there. I think there's definitely ways that we can learn about this and share it, and I think word of mouth is very powerful. So the more you can learn here, you are the individual that is going to bring this industry where it needs to be.
I think one of the biggest things is that in this industry now, especially CBD, is that we see so many actors coming in because the plant is helping a lot of people out. That's the bottom line. It's almost like a regression means where we knew the product worked for a long time ago, but then because of rules and propaganda, it was suppressed for a long time. And it's almost like a life preserver that was under 35 feet of water for 70 years, and now it's being released and it's popping back up, and it's massive movements of a lot of people getting good results from it. But when you get that type of regression to means, then you have a lot of actors come in, and they want to produce products, and they want to go as fast as possible. And when you go fast, a lot of times you don't have the research or you don't have the wherewithal, and this is one of the reasons why CBDIA was formed, to try to find the right protocols, right SOPs, to try the right rails, to find the right partners to partner up with. So you develop a product that meets label claims and it's good for the public. Because what we don't want is, I was talking to a Kentucky guy, OG, last night, and there's some things going on with Kentucky with a company that's really hurting a lot of farmers, and just ecosystem being hurt a little bit in Kentucky. So what does that mean to you? Well, we don't want continuous exposés out there of third-party people testing a lot of CBD products and it's not meeting the label claims, or we definitely don't want products that's hurting customers, because that hurts everybody in general. So that's why I'm happy to be on the CBDA and also DIA, and also learn how to improve the products I'm making too.
I'm just going to spin off of what everybody just said, and I would say standardization and transparency within not only the industry, but also from the regulatory realm. So if you look at that, you can consider standardization and transparency from the industry side in terms of not only defining of terms, defining of thresholds for critical limits within your process, a standardization in terms of marketing and label claims to allow for interstate commerce. And then from the regulatory side or the compliance side, there is no standardization from local to state to federal or even interstate commerce. And so for us as an industry, a very new industry, when there is no standardization, it's just a hodgepodge of different regulations where we're trying to make it all work. And I guess one benefit of that is you're going to be extremely compliant if you want to market in multiple markets, but all the same, it can be very confusing, not only to the industry, but also to consumers as well.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming today. You guys are the future of this industry, and I have to commend you for taking the time out of your life to spend money, spend your time coming here to learn. So I have to kind of say the same thing. Education, for me, is the future. We have to educate, and in this room, you guys have to be the best educated people out there. If you're not, your consumers and customers are not going to understand. As a physician that gives this to almost out for free to anybody that'll take it, I found very quickly that if I give it away to people, it only works about 10 to 20% of the time. It's not because it's a bad product, it's because if I give it away and I don't give away education along with it, people have a hard time of figuring out how to make this work, how to find the right brand or the formulation or the cannabinoid profile, or even how to take the dosage. So unless you are going to create a company that can hold that person's hand and take them and educate them along the way, you're going to have a failure rate. You're going to feel your company's doing wonderful things because you're going to hear everybody that tells you, hey, it works, it works, it works. So you're going to think I'm helping 100% of the people. But the reality is you're probably helping fewer than you think because you're hearing what you want to hear. So education is important. This organization and what it stands for is about education first. They offer all kinds of education opportunities that Dr. Abdili leads. And while they cost money, I'm telling you that will be the cheapest investment you will make in your business. If you go to these courses and learn, it took us years to figure this stuff out, and we're going to hand that over to you in days. So take advantage of education, and I think that is a big part of the future.
Great. I agree with everything else that the other panelists have said. And you hear this term standardization, and standardization in this industry is extremely important for a lot of reasons. We talk about standardization from a legal standpoint, from a compliance standpoint, from a labeling standpoint, but as a providers and as clinicians, standardization of cannabinoid medicine, it's not impossible, but it's extremely challenging. We're used to as physicians dealing with single compounds, single drugs, which the FDA loves to. They don't have many problems approving single molecule drugs and even sometimes double molecule drugs. But the cannabis plant has over 400 different unique compounds in it. So how do you standardize something that we're defining as having medicinal benefits and then run trials on this? This is extremely challenging. And then you have to also realize that standardizing that particular plant composition that has 400 different compounds, well, the next time that batch gets grown or that plant gets grown, you're going to be dealing with a completely different profile. So how can you standardize this? And this is where it becomes very challenging. But what I think is important is that we've made such good progress at number one is getting rid of, or at least helping get rid of the stigma that's associated with CBD, cannabinoid medicine, getting away from the whole idea that's just THC and the whole idea is that it's going to, that has intoxicating effects. So we're making a lot of progress with that. But for us to try to determine how are we going to standardize this from a medical standpoint and how that translates into patient outcomes. So again, I commend Len here because I do believe that genetics are going to play a significant role in this in the future for tailored medicine. With our cancer patients, for example, we don't treat every colorectal cancer patient the same. That tissue that we resect gets sent to a pathologist. It gets sent for genetic analysis to look at that tumor very specifically, and then from there, we're targeting therapy based upon that. And I do think that eventually there's going to be some real role for that. But again, that goes into that crosses a fine line between what's considered medicine and what's considered herbal, botanical supplementation. So those are some of the challenges that we're facing.
Could you repeat the question? Because I've actually forgot it after the last 6 people spoke.
So what is, in your opinion, what is the most important topic to you or issue that we need to address?
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that's actually, that's a great question. In addition to everything that these brilliant people have said already on stage, I think the one thing that we're actually facing in the very near term is a change in the regulatory structure of how this industry is treated. We're not regulated right now. I mean, realistically speaking, we're going to start being treated as a dietary supplement. And so, CFR, 111s and 117s, even 211s, will become very, very important to your company. Being CGMP certified is going to be absolutely critical to your existence in a very short period of time. I think those regulations that will give the FDA the ability to shut down your company. And I don't know, how many people here have ever woken up to 15 guys in like full body armor and machine guns at your office? Yeah, Len knows. Anyway, it's just happened to me 4 times, and trust me, it doesn't get any better any time it happens. So the good news, FDA doesn't have guns, DEA does. But what we're going to be dealing with is actually probably police actions that are really driven by the FDA in shuttering CBD companies on compliance. And so that was absolutely critical that everyone in this room, I think, educates themselves as best as possible on how to get yourself, on the track to become fully, FDA compliant in your manufacturing processes.
So to follow up with that, how do you think, or how can we move forward with that?
Well, everyone here, I think, by just taking the classes that are offered or simply just being in these sessions is a great first step. Secondly, how many people here are CGMP compliant? How many of those hands that are up have their NSF or SQF certification? Awesome. That's great. Good for you guys. So yes, being both compliant and actually getting a certification, passing an audit, to where you understand what the audit process is like with the FDA is what everyone needs to commit to over the next 12 months.
If I can just chime in about compliance, since that is my background, what I would say for those companies that are still trying to figure out what does CGMP actually mean to my operation, the easiest way to start is to understand every single process, understand what your hazards are within your operation, understand where are your critical limits. So if you start building together, and if you recognize what I'm saying, I'm kind of just spouting out HACCP to you, right? Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. That is something that is required for certain specialized processes, but also if you look even further, you look at FSMA, or Food Safety Modernization Act from the FDA, and that is a glorified version of the HACCP plan, which is a food safety plan, which will have foreign supplier verification as well as regular supplier verification, amongst other items. And so as lovely as it is for everyone to just gain compliance through certifications, keep in mind that that is just a snapshot in time. It does take time, it takes personnel, it takes monetary investment, it takes a lot to actually pass your certifications. And for those who don't have the money to actually invest in obtaining these certifications, you can understand your process, understand the food safety regulations in producing this product, and become compliant within your own organization and work very closely with the regulatory bodies that oversee your operation. Because all it is, we have to keep in mind, this is just another ingredient that we are manufacturing for human consumption. Let's not, talk about, oh, well, it's CBD and it's THC and it's all of these various things. What you're doing is you're producing a product that will be consumed by humans. And so there are standards out there in terms of how you should be manufacturing to ensure that it's wholesome, to ensure that it's unadulterated, to ensure that it is safe. And so, I mean, we have, our ISO accreditation, and we will be working towards additional ISO accreditations as well as GFSI recognized certifications as well. But with that being said, I don't want people to feel like that is the only way for you to be GMP compliant, because if you work with your regulatory bodies, when they audit you, they are auditing you against good manufacturing practices. And this is a standard that is not industry specific, it is for manufacturing, right? It's not just for food, it's not just for dietary supplements, it's not just for beverages, it's for manufacturing. So it's really understanding what you do, standardizing it, making sure that you're providing a consistent product and ensuring that it's safe.
All right, well, I'm sure after that, you guys probably have a lot of questions. So let's go ahead and take some questions up here. Anybody?
You want it? I can absolutely cover that one.
We can both answer.
Okay, so in 2017, my company absolutely bombed a Costco audit. We literally failed in every way imaginable. We thought that we had a quality a QC manager that was running our quality systems. We had a third-party auditor come into our facility, and it couldn't have gone any worse. After that process, we started looking at consultants to essentially generate the SOP development as well as helping us through the audit process. And what we found is the cost was ranging. We got quotes between $400,000, $900,000, $1.2 million, and upwards of like $1.8 million. And the time that they were suggesting was 6 to 12 months for that. I can tell you that all of that is total bullshit. You shouldn't be paying that much for the right person to come in place. But we can get, our company builds quality systems for other companies, and we can do it in as little as 6 to 8 weeks.
Well, yeah, I would think there's probably some pre-preparation, because a lot of that has to do with documentation at facilities and quality system, and making sure you have raw material specs, finished product specs, all that documentation needs to be in place. You have to get things easier, then you have to have your process flow and everything. But yeah, and I've been to ISO 9000 audit, and I remember it took like about a year and a half, because the company BSI came back twice. The first time it was just a preliminary, which was what to do. Then they give you some time, and then we'll come back again and see if you're ready.
Tweet, would you like to add?
Yeah, so I would say it's very specific, not only to the size of your operation, but it also depends on where you are in the food chain. Are you a grower? Do you cultivate? Are you a handler? Are you a processor? Are you a manufacturer? Are you a brand owner? It depends, right? It also depends on when you're talking about how much does it cost. Are you talking about just the certification itself, or exactly what Michael was saying, the consultants that you may or may not need to bring in, a full-time employee that you may or may not need to bring in that would specialize in compliance and quality control, quality assurance, the efforts that you have to put forth in order to develop a platform that will capture all of the data points for you to capture metrics and determine whether or not your process is actually working. So that's a very loaded question. Also, I would say that it depends on where you are. Do you have your SOPs? Do you, and if you say yes, and then I ask you how many you have, and you can count it on, your hands, then you probably don't have enough, because you need to have SOPs for every single thing.
If it's under 100, you're not quite there yet.
So it really does depend. And as far as the time, again, it depends on what you already have in place. If you have absolutely nothing in place and you are starting over, again, it's where are you in the food chain? What all are you doing? How many products are you actually producing? For us as a vertically integrated company, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds per department of SOPs. And our ISO 9001 audit took all day. And we have multiple ways to capture information. We're trying to streamline everything so that it's all digital at this point. But it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, but more than anything, it takes the commitment to actually want to do it, because once you get in, you're going to realize that that water is a lot deeper than you anticipated. So you can do SQF, you can do BRC, FSSC. Those are GFSI recognized certifications. And again, it kind of depends on what you do. You can do ISO accreditation, you can do NSF. There are lots of different types of certifications that are out there. And then something that I'll be discussing later this afternoon at 2:30, so please come and see me. In my panel, we'll be discussing organic certification as well as GMP certification and what are the differences and what that means. You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions?
One comment on the NSF. As you said, it really depends on your process. If you're processing food, you're processing dietary supplements. One thing that exciting that came on supply side west is that now NSF has a certification for specific cannabinoid products you can start looking into. So if you're not doing the plant and manufacturing, you just have a finished product, you can start looking at that process and trying to get certification for product specific.
How do you suggest that the industry begins to self-police? We know that it's bad for the entire industry when people are making products in their garages or not doing things up to these standards, but yet everybody has a CBD brand and nobody wants to be the narc, but the industry itself has to police itself. It was always a problem. I come from cannabis as well, that nobody wants to narc on the guy down the road who we know is not doing something on the up and up. But with the CBD industry and it going to a much broader consumer base, really to just about everybody, how we as an industry can begin to self-police and take these products. I mean, they're here, they're downstairs, they're here at this expo, lots of them, that we police and get those out of the industry.
Well, I think that's a great question, because really all it's going to take is a couple bad eggs out there, which, we're seeing, and that's what's really hurting the industry and really kind of slowing things down. And that's where another thing that we're trying to look at developing too are specific, seals of approval, ways to actually, audit companies to make sure that they're meeting standardization. We struggle with the same things that you're dealing with as a retail company. We see companies that are selling products and making false claims on their websites, having substandard products with substandard tracking of quality. What do we do with that? We ask ourselves that all the time, because these are competitors of all these people, and how do you do that? And it's not because you don't want to be the narc per se, but at the same time we have to be the adults in the room and to protect the industry. So we have to. It's a great question. I don't know the answer because we deal with this all the time, and last thing we want to do is pick up the phone and start calling the government and telling them all this stuff is going on, because now they're going to get involved and who knows what could happen. I would love to hear other people's thoughts about that, but that's where one of the things that we are working towards developing is actually accreditations and seals of approval, and so that way it can hopefully protect the industry, so we can govern ourselves a little better.
Katie?
Yeah, can I just add to that really quick? Concur with what Adam said, but just stop doing stupid shit. I mean, common sense. I saw a person that had products that had disease states written on them in alphabetical order, from AIDS and cancer and CBD products. So I approached the person and asked them, do you know how CBD works within your body? And that was the first conversation. And then they know that they're going to get in trouble, but if I, and each one of us, instead of being a narc, have a conversation, educate a person, and say, you're endangering us as an industry by being stupid. So we understand that you want to grab as much money as you can. There's other ways to do that, and that's why I would suggest is have like a conversation with the individual and use education, and instead of like slamming them down, uplift them, and so tell them how they can improve their product and make it better and make it as for everybody else.
Yeah, all great stuff that everybody has said. And to your point, I don't think we have to bash the people that are doing bad things. I think their true colors are going to show very quickly here. I think having the right types of certifications and implementing the right things that you know is true to your business and being a good human in general, I think will show through a lot quicker. Also, vet these people. Do not work with them. You know, it's that simple. If they're doing bad things, do not associate with those types of people. We're here in this industry together, and that's something that's really important that everybody needs to understand. This is bigger than ourselves here. So I think it's going to show really quickly here the people that are in it for the wrong reasons. And I think with these certifications that people are getting, it's going to separate this divide very quickly here.
I would like to just say that I agree with everybody that has already addressed this question. Definitely education is a big issue where maybe the consumers aren't fully educated on what they're purchasing. So being transparent as a company as to what you do, and not necessarily telling people your IP, but telling them these are all the things that you do in order to ensure that you are delivering and distributing a wholesome product that is safe, and being very transparent about your test results, working with, as you said, the good players. It might be cheaper for me to buy oil or CBD from the guy who might have extracted it from unwholesome plant material that might be moldy. I'm going to get it, for half price, and then I'll have more profit. But really, what does that do, right? So you have to stop feeding, that fire. You need to, decide to work with only good suppliers. You have to ensure that you all educate each other, ensure that you're transparent, and work together and help educate not only the public, but also partnering up with the regulatory authorities within your either local or state jurisdictions, so that they also know how to not only inspect you, but inspect your competitors, and the standards that should be put in place for the industry.
Yeah, I actually disagree with everyone on this panel. I think the public shaming should actually be much more active in our industry. Who here agrees with me? I think it's much easier for someone to be able to go to a website and just to see the 20 companies they should never do business with or purchase products from. And I think there's a tremendous advocacy ability for both this organization, every single person in this room, to get involved in public shaming of companies that are doing things wrong. So I just...
While I understand where you're coming from, we all know, okay, so as a previous health inspector, guess what? I would get complaints from a patron that was upset that they didn't get a discount, or they weren't served fast enough, or whatever it was. So how do you validate any of those complaints and concerns? Maybe you're going to be thrown under the bus because you have a competitor that doesn't like you and doesn't like your success. So then how do you start to kind of tease through all of that? It's very difficult, right? And instead of just getting, becoming one of those girls, let's just step back and, just rise to the occasion and do the right thing. But I understand where you're coming from, but you just never know.
That's what happens when you have 15 police officers come out. You got to be combative. So one of the comments I have about it is that, in my opinion, is that you take the high road and you do the education. You make sure your ingredients are really, really good, because we were out in Florida just last week, and we were talking to a lot of retailers. I'm telling you, the retailers are clamoring. They're clamoring. They want standardization. They want clarity from DC. And when they come in, the big players for the ingestibles, what's going to happen is that all the prices are going down. And we're in a weird situation right now, as in, a lot of players can come in and become profitable, and some are trying to grab as much money as possible. But once the big players come in, Amazon comes in, Costco comes in, and it's all ingestible, and I'm telling you, they all want it. They all want it, okay? Price is going to go down, and those big guys are going to demand standardization. They're going to demand quality, because that's the only way they play. So if you build on quicksand now and not, concrete rebar long term, they're going to filter you out very, very quickly, and you'll be gone very, very quickly.
One last thing here. So I was here a year ago, And today is so much different than a year ago. So when I came here in Orlando last year and I was down in the vendor section, everything looked like cannabis, all those same greens and reds, and it just looked like the cannabis industry came here and took out the word marijuana and put CBD. And the literature was much more, was worse than the literature you might have saw downstairs. I think you guys have done a wonderful job so far of self-regulating and changing the look of this expo, right? And the people who are associated with it are growing and changing already, so I commend you for that. I do read books, and one of them is called Blue Ocean Strategy. The concept there is live in a blue ocean, right? A red ocean is shark-infested waters. And so often with entrepreneurism, when you're out there on that floor, it's red ocean, right? How do we compete with each other? It's us against them. I've got to get the market share. We got to lower prices or make things look pretty. So you're competing with each other. I would challenge you to change your mind, change your paradigm. And when you walk into something like this is a blue ocean. We are all here volunteering our time and our mental abilities to help you, right? We want to give you our knowledge away to you so you can become better stewards and better partners with us as we develop this from just an herb to medicine. And I don't think it's medicine yet, but it's a medicine wannabe product. And on that journey, you've got to be blue ocean. So open your mind, look at everybody around you as colleagues, not competitors, share, confront them in a nice, loving, caring way as we guide them along. But that's what we're here for, is to kind of give you that guidance and tell you all the mistakes we've made and how not to make those, and here are the things that have worked for us. So please use us.
Question over here.
Are there any minimum standards or certifications that from a manufacturer or distributor's point that a retailer can look at for determining quality control to distinguish a good versus a substandard product?
Absolutely. If you just honestly, just look up FSMA, Food Safety Modernization Act, or FSMA. You can find it on the FDA website. And that delineates what needs to be done for any sort of food production. Now, keep in mind, I know it's not food in every single state. Some states regulate it as a dietary supplement, and some states haven't figured out what they're going to be doing yet, and some states have programs or maybe kind of a mix of the two. But what that does is it defines the good manufacturing practices that you should be not only aware of, just understand that when I'm talking about good manufacturing practices, there will be standardization with certain components such as sanitation, right? Environmental monitoring, traceability, things like that, but they're not going to tell you how to do your process. You have to understand, what does good manufacturing practices mean? You have to understand, again, what I've been spouting this entire time. What are the hazards? What are your thresholds? What are your critical control points? Where could there be contamination? So in terms of finding out what would be good, I would look at it, again, just like any other product. If I were wanting to sell to Walmart, Walmart is going to require that I have not only a business license, that I have a certificate of liability, that I have different certifications and accreditations, that I'm open to second-party audits, that I have third-party audits that I'm going to submit to them for review, that I'm operating in a state that has a hemp program, a legal hemp program that's actually inspecting me, and I'm licensed for it. So there's a lot of different things. It just depends on the state that you are in, right? And so if you want to show up and really be a little bit different from all of your competitors, you're going to have all of those in line. You're going to commit to it. You're going to spend the time, the money. You're going to have the personnel that's going to help support that, and constantly improve your process and constantly reach for more certifications and accreditations. And those are the companies that Costco and Walmart and Target, those are the companies that they're going to look at, because you have to go through a very rigorous program in order to even be considered an approved source or have an approved buyer even look at you. So if you're not there yet, it's not too late. Just educate yourself and work together and try to streamline your processes and actually put forth a budget to develop a team that can help get you there, because you can't do it alone, and you can't do it without the help of not only everyone around you, but also the regulatory bodies as well, because they are paid to help educate you. You can call and ask for a non-regulatory inspection. You can call and ask specific questions, but keep in mind, your responses that you get will only be as much as you're willing to divulge. So if you're gonna give me a question, but you're not divulging all of the different details, my response to everybody would be, well, it depends, because I already know that it's more complicated than what you're asking me, and I might ask you probing questions. So these are the questions that you should be asking yourself as you develop your program to determine where you need to be for certification so that you can appeal to those larger retailers. Does that make sense?
I'm just curious, when we go downstairs, how I can distinguish the manufacturer, distributor, that complies with the higher practice standards and practices than one that doesn't? Is there certain things I should look for?
Well, I'll tell you what we have that helps kind of differentiate us from other companies. So we have our ISO 9001, which is a quality management system. We are working towards our ISO 17025, which is for our analytical laboratory for quality control within the company. After that, we will be working on our 22000, ISO 22000, which is food safety management system. You can look at SQF. You can look at BRC, FSSC 22000, I believe it is, NSF. Like, there's a lot of different accreditations that you can get. So
can any of your clients ask you for those certifications
Yes.
and accreditations, and
Yes.
can they check them online if
Absolutely.
they're valid?
You can check it online, just like, organic certification. How many people have seen people promoting themselves as organic? And how do you, as a consumer and or a business owner that wants to purchase this organic product, how do you verify that? Do you know where to find that information? It's easy. It's on the USDA NOP, or National Organic Program, Integrity Database. And why did they call it integrity? Because you have to have a little bit of integrity, right? To not only call yourself organic, but to verify that. Because there's a lot of players out there that will say, yeah, we're organic, but they're actually really not. So there are ways for you to determine that information, either with an online platform, or if there's a certificate that they can offer, that you can go back to that certifying body to verify that certification. So if they tell you that they have something, then I'd be like, show me the money. Where is it? I'm going to verify everything that you say to me, because I won't believe anything that you say until you can verify it. You can provide it to me, and I can validate your information, because I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm not just going to take your word for it. It's my business. It's my brand. It's my reputation. I'm not going to jeopardize it based on what someone else said. I will verify that.
Katie?
Yeah, thank you. This got very technical, all very good information. I'm going to keep it really simple here. There's a couple different things that you can validate companies very quickly. While there is no standard regulation and everything, these certifications are one of the things you can look for, because these are the front runners and the pioneers in this industry. Also look for third-party lab test results. I think that's really critical when you are consuming a CBD product. Also, transparency. If people are not providing you the information that you are requesting, that's a red flag right away, and do not, I would advise caution when working with those types of companies. So yeah, everyone's gonna say a lot of different things. Marketing is interesting down there, because you do have everybody making certain claims. Do the best that you can to validate them with your own information, and with this industry as well, you can validate it with the information that we've all been saying as well.
And with respect to CFAs, don't just take it as the truth. Please test the product to verify that that CFA is actually a valid CFA, and it's not just a good one that they've been passing around with every single batch. Thank you.
Right. I mean, for sure, whoever's downstairs, and if you're talking to them about co-packing and they say, hey, I have this certification for NSF, SQF, SGS, you can just go on the website. You just go on the website, or tell them, send me the link. Okay? And you can do that.
Great. I think we have time for one more question.
Joshua Little, Veterans for Canada. So we're all about certification and all about testing, and we do that. But that's taking the mom and pops out of the industry. So what do we do about those veterans specifically who want to get into the industry, who don't have $1 million, $1.5 million to hire a consultant and get into this industry with all these GMPs and everything, but they want to do the right thing and help each other out? So what about them? What about the small business owners in these industries?
I'll tell you what Colorado is doing. In Colorado, we have this initiative called the CHAMP Initiative, and that is the coming together of not only the minds from the regulatory realm, from industry, from stakeholders, from anybody that has any sort of impact or will be impacted, with USDA coming in, right? And so we're trying to build a blueprint. And one of the things that we address very specifically are the farmers or are the smaller business owners. And really what it is, trying to decipher what is good information and good education. That's kind of difficult, especially if you're new in the industry. I think that you don't always have to hire on a consultant, because what I have found is everybody's a consultant and everybody's a specialist, but how do you know that they're actually good, right? I mean, I will sit there and I interrogate people, to say it nicely, and throw out a lot of different acronyms and see if they actually know what I'm talking about and if they know what they're talking about. But obviously, we just throw like alphabet soup together and figure that it means something, right? But for the smaller mom and pops and farmers and whatnot, I think it's a matter of reaching out to, again, the regulatory authorities, finding out what sort of nonprofit organizations there might be within your jurisdiction that can help lead you. And then have those conversations with others in the industry so that you can start to figure things out and what you need to do. You're gonna have to do a lot of the legwork. If you don't have the money to hire someone to tell you what you should be doing, you have to educate yourself. You have to take that bull by the horns and you have to figure out what you have to do. And the only way to help kind of decipher that is just to read the regulations, understand it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it, do all of that, and then reach out to the regulatory bodies that can help maybe interpret those regulations for you.
Lynn?
Yeah, so the different states and different countries have different programs available. There's social equity in California. Mexico has a program now where they're trying to incorporate small farmers. So they will kind of cluster together in these collectives, and they will be able to hire experts to help them as small collectives band together. So look at those programs that are available. It's absolutely something that's been talked about through different parts of the world with big money coming in, and a lot of this Canadian money coming in. Hopefully, with some of this money kind of being frozen out due to some of these stocks that are plunging, we'll have a lot more capabilities on the small farmer side. But definitely look at those collectives that are banding together and those programs that the states are creating as well.
I mean, another comment is that I was talking to Mike yesterday, and they're coming up very, very concentrated in a very abbreviated program to get smaller companies, get started right away to be compliant. And as she said, if you hire consultants, everybody's going to take your money, and everybody's got a different idea. I didn't spend the 7 figures that he was talking about, but multiple 6 figures to try to find the right path for our organization. So I'm excited about the program. It's coming and gelling really, really quickly for the small guys. But even if you're a small guy, you do need to read this stuff, because it's just a law, right? It's just a law. You got to be compliant for it, because be caught on the back end is very, very bad. And you can't just, you got to methodically research it and also build it. Because it's not just about throwing money for the testing. You got to build a whole process. You got to build in the quality. You can't just test for quality. If you test the quality, that's the end of the deal. You got to build the quality starting from the beginning.
Yeah, just one last thing in terms of small to medium businesses that are starting in the industry. The one way of actually getting to market as quickly as possible with as little capital as possible is to simply just sign up to a white label program that is actually compliant with all FDA guidelines. And so, if you're talking about doing runs of 500 bottles or 1,000 bottles of a single SKU, you can do that with many white label programs that are federally compliant, that are in FDA registered facilities here in the United States.
Maybe one more question. Do you have anything after that? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I certainly encourage you guys to look at the CBDIA membership and certification classes. And you have full access to our advisory board up here as well. So thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.